Welcome into our overtime segment here on SportsSource.tv. Sterling telling us right before that he's happy that Alabama, Auburn, they're playing your version of third down for one. And that's your vocals on that, right?
My vocals on that.
How did they get that? Did you send it to them?
No, actually,
they stole it.
It was maybe not all came together. No, Spags thought of it. Coach Jones and Spags thought of it. Told Barry Rice to tell me to make it happen. We made it happen. Got in the studio, put it down, and it's history.
Do you get like $2.50 every time that happens?
I just get big smiles. That's all I get. I gave off for Tennessee. That's all I'm
just like on this show. Yeah, big smiles. Speaking of big smiles, this overtime segment every week brought to you by Jinx Logos. And let me show you this. This is our logo on a brand new Nike half zip pullover. Jinx Logos, Jimmy Andrews, their numbers on the set here. I'm telling you folks, they can get you all kinds of items from all kinds of different companies. I mean, Nike, the price is unbelievable. I've found people who charge more for just the item. They put the embroidery on it as well, and it still costs less than most of these companies that provide promotional gear and promotional giveaway items for you. Jinx Logos, best I've ever seen. All right, as opposed to, what was it? Pee Wee Herman. It was the worst wreck I ever seen. All right, look, I want to talk about bowls. We brought it up a little bit in the show today. There you see the Outback Music City Tax Slayer Liberty Texas Belk, and then down there, Birmingham Independence Bowls. These bowls up here, that's a gang of 6. The bowl turns a list into the SEC and says we want these teams in order. The SEC teams turn in a list and say we want to go to these bowls in order. The SEC then tries to match it up. All right, you can see when the game's played and who the opponent would be, Big 10, ACC or Big 10, Big 12, etc. These last two, that's just the bowls picking. If you drop all the way down there, then Birmingham gets the first pick, then Independence. But these are chosen by the league. I've got a little blue line by the Music City, Liberty, and Belk. I think those are Tennessee's most likely spots. And I think the Liberty is the most likely of all against a Big 12 team. Most projections have that being West Virginia or Texas. Cruz, let's go to a wide shot so I can move this thing over here, and we'll just put it between myself and Bob. We can reference it that way. If we want to change my camera to that, you can. When you look at this, guys, it's a complex scenario, complex situation. What we showed you during the show today, you got 12 eligible teams from the SEC. It would have been even more bizarre if Kentucky had won yesterday. So you got 12 of the 14 teams in the league that are bowl eligible, only 10 guaranteed slots for the league. How are you feeling about Tennessee's chances when you look at this and you look at all the teams in the league who have better records than Tennessee?
I like Tennessee's chances, even though the other teams do have better records than them. I think you got to put Tennessee, not a better record than South Carolina, but Tennessee beat South Carolina. That puts you ahead of them.
Well,
I think they're probably ahead of Florida, even though Florida got
Yep.
So I think Tennessee's in pretty good shape.
Also, Tennessee hadn't been to a bowl game in a while, and when you get down to the guys that get to choose, they're going to be thinking about money. And let's face it, I mean, Tennessee this year, they'll be their first bowl game since 2010. That's going to be a financial decision at that point in time. They're going to want to go with that decision.
And if what you all said, and obviously I think it is, John, that some of the losses yesterday, Georgia, push you down a little bit. I'm thinking more. I'd been hoping for the Music City Bowl just because I think that would have been a fun trip. I think now the best you can really hope for is the Liberty Bowl and a Tennessee-Texas matchup.
Yeah.
Ooh, I think that's dynamite. I really
for
do.
the real UT. Fighting for the real UT, baby.
Right.
Love that.
I mean, I really do.
I think that'd be good. It would also, now it could put some pressure on Mr. Butch Jones because he'd be going up against Charlie Strong, who of course turned down Tennessee to stay at Louisville and then eventually went to Texas. But I agree with you guys. I think that clearly the Liberty Bowl is probably your best hope at this moment. There have been some other projections that had Tennessee facing Notre Dame in the Music City or the Belk Bowl.
Yeah.
I just don't think – plus, one, I don't think you're going to go that highly. But also, I don't know that Tennessee would want to play Notre Dame. Notre Dame's better than Texas. If you want to get a winning season and go to 7-6, Texas is pretty bad. Tennessee's got holes. Texas has holes. They got a great big hole at quarterback. So I think Texas would be a best matchup. Will, I like your point, though. I think you're right. If Tennessee does drop all the way down and you don't get in this block of 6 bowls that are decided by the SEC, if you ask the Birmingham Bowl folks or the Independence Bowl folks, the Duck Commander, that's now the Duck Dynasty gang. So, Bob, you might have some pull there. If you ask them, you're choosing between Tennessee, Arkansas, Florida, South Carolina. I think Tennessee and Arkansas are approachable. I don't think Florida and South Carolina are really good gets this year.
No. And remember, one of the Duck Dynasty gang is a big Tennessee fan.
Not that he has any say in the bowl,
Not
but
that
he
he
might.
hasn't saying the ball, but he may come out and say something about that.
Hey, I
So-
took a picture with
Out of these two, I like Birmingham better, even though I just hate that January.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah, January 3rd would be the Birmingham Bowl. That's a Saturday. The Independence Bowl would be the Saturday before on 12/27, which would mess up my plans for a 12/21 Christmas show. The thing about the Birmingham Bowl, you would be playing a team from the AAC, which could be Memphis, who's actually pretty good. I don't think you want to lose to Memphis this year. I mean, here's the thing. And I'm not saying they would lose to Memphis, but it's a possibility. I mean, if Vanderbilt almost got you, Memphis is better than Vanderbilt. You could play Cincinnati, which again, their players would have more to play for than Tennessee would in that game to get back at their old coach if you play Cincinnati. East Carolina possible for that bowl. Independence is ACC. You play an ACC team.
And one of the teams you mentioned, John, I would not like a matchup with West Virginia from watching them and their offense. I would want to stay as far away from that as I could.
No, I don't think you want to play West Virginia. You want to play Texas if you're going to play something out of that group.
Well, I got the solution for all this stuff. Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
Here's the as complex this bowl picture has gotten, as competitive as the SEC is, the chance of having an undefeated team in the SEC is getting slimmer and slimmer every year.
Yep.
So let's just come with the Sports Source Bowl.
Yeah.
Let's just do that. Add another bowl to the picture, and we'll take the repeat.
If I had enough money to fund a bowl, this show would be off the air and I'd be in Tahiti.
All we need, man, is start getting some royalties from Third Down for What.
Whoa, baby!
We said this a little bit during the show. We got a little more time to expand on it. How much should it matter? I mean, obviously, you want to win the game. You want to have your first winning season since 2009. No question about it. But if Tennessee loses, how big of a minus does that give the whole season? I mean, I think you're kind of playing with house money just getting there with this youth and this depth. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, I mean, I think you say that now, but go back, just 3 years ago when Tennessee lost to North Carolina in that awful ending in the Music City Bowl, and then you show the record years later, it's a losing record. So you're saying we're back. Well, you went 6 and 7.
Well, I'm not saying that.
Here's-
Current players are saying, yeah.
I mean, here's the thing, though. You never know how a team's going to show up to a bowl game because, I mean, there have been plenty of times that bowl games are looked at a little bit differently than the rest of the season. You have some two groups that go out there and they show up very serious to play the game, and some groups that are like disappointed to be there or just
Alabama last year, for
they're
example.
looking to go pro, whatever it might be. So you never know with bowl games. I don't judge a team by a bowl game win or loss because unless it's for something, a national championship, something like that, where we got something on the line, that's different. But when it's not for something, I don't know it always judges how good one team is compared to the other. It's just who showed up to play that game.
Bowl game for what?
Yeah, that's a good point. I have no problem. Tennessee goes to the bowl game and lose. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I mean, as a fan, it'll bother you at the time
Right.
watching it, and we will lose. But once you get past that, you're fine.
It shows progression. I mean,
Yeah.
you want to get there, and we're there. And so it definitely shows progression. We want to win, but it shows progression.
See, and I think next year, year 3, Butch Jones has already done more than Mark Stoops and Brett Bielema in his first 2 years. You made your recruiting is really good. It looks like it's going to be really good again this signing day. You made a step forward in getting to a bowl. You won 3 SEC games this year. Next year, year 3, that's when you can start worrying about style points a little bit in turn. Okay, now it's not house money anymore. Now you better win 7 or 8 games, and we're going to start looking at what happens in the bowl games and that kind of thing. So I don't want people to think that he's just giving them a pass. No, I think this was a rebuilding year. You were still in it. Next year, you're going to be young, but you should be able to take a step
I
forward.
still give you a little bit of a pass next year. Not a big one, but you still have a
You're gonna be
little
young.
bit of
But
a
I mean,
pass.
your bar is going to be 8-4.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
I mean, your
Exactly.
bar is going to be
You're not
8-4.
12
I mean, that's where the bar is going to be. So it's not a pass if you hit that.
I'm going to even open an 8-4 bar on the Cumberland Strip.
Wow, he's getting royalties for Third Down for What? I'm starting bowls, and you're opening a bar.
And the bowl scenario, the bowl thing is a good idea, John. We need to raise some cash because think about it. If we got 13 teams eligible, which could happen in years to come in the SEC, hey, let's have a rematch with the SEC game and the loss. Imagine we play Florida right now.
Hey, we've already got the lines out there on the Channel 6 parking lot behind the building.
Let's do it, baby.
I say we go to Carnes High School.
Very good. Guys, I appreciate it. Sterling, Chuck, Will, Bob, who I didn't introduce at the top of this thing, in case you didn't know who they are, that's who they are. We're not even going to give you last names. Next Sunday, the Sports Source, we're going to break down Tennessee's bowl scenarios with more detail because we're going to know more. So next Sunday, watch us, 11 a.m. WATE 6. We'll also start our basketball coverage. Isaiah Victor, Mark Pankratz, Houston Fancher, Mike Strange. Come on back next week on the Sports Source. Thank you, and we'll see you then.